Hi, my name is Kelly. For my capstone, I decided to do an internship. This internship was at Pinellas County Extension. Pinellas County was established in January 1912 after a referendum passed calling for a separation from Hillsborough County. Nationally, a few years later, the Cooperative Extension Service was established in 1914 by the Smith-Lever Act. The Cooperative Extension Service is a partnership between county governments, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and state land-grant universities. In Florida, the university partner is University of Florida in Gainesville and their Institution of Food and Agricultural Sciences. My internship was under the University of Florida Extension agent, Ms. Ramona Meadows-Hector, who specializes in community development and sustainability. Another supervisor of mine was Mr. Hank Hottie, who is the Sustainability and Resiliency Coordinator for Pinellas County. During my time there, I worked with county data from the former Star Communities platform and compared it to what was needed for the Leads for Cities and Communities platform, as those two platforms have recently merged. If the data was not in the county's Star Communities platform, then I had to find alternative sources to obtain the information. You may be wondering how this relates to my concentration, climate change and sustainability. The built environment and the related construction practices are responsible for 36% of global energy use and 39% of energy-related carbon dioxide emissions. Implementing green building and adhering to green building certification programs help reduce energy consumption and cut these emissions. By 2050, an estimated 68% of the world's people are going to live in urban areas. Using certification programs like Lead for Cities and Communities should help lower emissions and improve other aspects of cities as well. The structure of Lead Cities and Communities can be quite complex. There are 9 Lead for Cities and Communities categories, which are integrative process, natural systems and ecology, water efficiency, transportation and land use, energy and greenhouse gas emissions, materials and resources, quality of life, innovation, and regional priority. Out of the 9 main categories, there are 6 core categories and 3 other categories. The 6 main categories are natural systems and ecology, transportation and land use, water efficiency, energy and greenhouse gas emissions, materials and resources, and quality of life. The 3 other categories are integrative process, innovation, and regional priority. Now, only the core categories have prerequisites, which are required. The prerequisites are divided into 2 types, base conditions and performance score. Examples of base conditions would be access to drinking water or access to power. Very basic things. For the performance score, there are 14 metrics which span across 5 categories. These 5 categories are energy, water, waste, transportation, and quality of life. 9 of the 14 metrics are in subcategories in the quality of life category, also known as the human experience category. The subcategories are education, equitability, prosperity, and health and safety. The other 5 metrics are in the energy, water, waste, and transportation category. Here is a visual representation of this. For the 3 other Lead for Cities and Communities categories, along with the 6 core categories, there are credits. Entities who receive a high number of credit points receive silver, gold, or platinum designations. A higher score indicates that the city or community is more sustainable. The majority of credits include outcomes and strategies. Outcomes measure results or conditions in the community. Strategies are practices that improve conditions. Now, in order to start finding the data for Lead Cities and Communities, I looked at a Microsoft Excel worksheet called the Crosswalk tool. The Crosswalk tool shows all of the Lead for Cities and Communities categories, and also has a short description of what data needs to be in those categories. It also shows what data I need to find or transfer over from the Star Communities platform. Then, once I selected a category to work on, I looked up that category in the Lead for Cities and Communities guide for a more thorough explanation on what data needs to be included in that category. After this, I looked in SharePoint, which is a database where Pinellas County stores information. In SharePoint, I looked under Pinellas County's Star Communities data to see what data, if any, the county already had pertaining to the category I'd chosen to work on. If there was data there, I put what data I found and where I found it into the Crosswalk tool. If there was no data for that particular category in the Star Communities data, or there was data, but it was out of date, I looked on various county websites or census.gov for the data. If no data was found on those websites, I contacted the appropriate county department to locate this data. For example, for the Quality of Life category, under the Trend Improvements measure name, 4 metrics, graduation rate, small business, poverty rate, and violent crime, were selected. I looked in Pinellas County Star Communities data, but the Star Communities data was from a few years ago. So I found data for those metrics that was more up to date on leaptampabay.org, from census.gov, and from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement website. For the water efficiency category, regarding the integrated water management measure name, there was no data in the Star Communities data chart, so I contacted Tampa Bay Water in order to obtain that information. I found the majority of the data in Pinellas County Star Communities data, Pinellas County webpage, pages, census.gov, and talking with various Pinellas County representatives. Some examples of the data that I found are: for the transportation and land use category under the alternative fuel vehicles measure name, the Crosswalk tool guidelines is to provide electric vehicle supply equipment in 2% of all public parking spaces, or at least 2 spaces, whichever is greater. Demonstrate that the number of private and public electric vehicle charging stations exceed 1.07 per 10,000 residents. Pinellas County only has 10 electric vehicle charging stations. In order to get that credit, because the Pinellas County population is so high, Pinellas County would need to have 104 electric vehicle charging stations. For the water efficiency category, under the water performance measure name, Pinellas County's daily per capita domestic water consumption was 74 gallons for 2019. For the health and safety submittal option and the quality of life category, Pinellas County had a median air quality index of 40 in 2019. Also, there were 0 days where the air quality was unhealthy for sensitive groups in 2019. Based on my research in the materials and resources category, I found that no one appears to be tracking special waste streams, such as hazardous waste and biomedical waste. I checked with Jan Tracy, the program coordinator at Pinellas County Solid Waste, and she said Pinellas County Solid Waste does not track hazardous or biomedical waste, as they are not municipal waste. Ms. Tracy told me to contact the Florida Department of Health and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Susan Stevens, the Public Records Request Liaison for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, said that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection does not track such waste, and she told me to contact the Department of Health. When I contacted the Florida Department of Health, they just forwarded my email to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So it appears that they do not track biomedical or hazardous waste either. There are very few problems during this internship. One of the main problems that did come up was the structure for Lead for Cities and Communities. Lead for Cities and Communities is, as the name suggests, generally for cities and communities, not counties. It would be much easier for a city or community to collect data because the city or community only encompasses that one entity. Alternatively, it is much more difficult for a county to collect its data, as counties generally include several municipalities. For example, Pinellas County includes 24 municipalities and various unincorporated areas. Another problem that came up had to do with the energy and greenhouse gas emissions category of Lead for Cities and Communities. This is because the county is still working on gathering greenhouse gas data, so that data is not available at this present time. Also, a lot of the questions in the energy and greenhouse gas emissions category are for Duke Energy. According to one of my supervisors, Hank Hottie, Duke Energy can take weeks or even months to respond to questions. Another challenge that occurred was a communication problem. I could not talk to or get to know my supervisors as much as I would have liked, since it was a remote internship due to the COVID-19 virus. I talked to my supervisors about once a week on a Microsoft Teams call. Occasionally, I would use email as well. As these problems were out of my control, I could do very little, if anything, about them. Some skills I was able to develop over the course of my internship are how to collect various types of data. I was able to get more comfortable interacting with people in various companies, departments, and people with varying expertise. Of course, I have learned more about Lead for Cities and Communities and the different categories that encompass it. I've also learned about the various departments of Pinellas County and the data those departments track. Finally, I have learned about how to use programs such as Microsoft Teams, Zoom, WebEx, and SharePoint. Thank you so much to Ms. Ramona Meadows-Hector and Mr. Hank Hottie for the opportunity to have this internship. Many Pinellas County staff and staff from various companies helped me during my research. Their names are as follows. Thank you so much for all of your help. I couldn't have done it without you. Overall, this was a great internship, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to have participated in it.